Hello guys, we are here in Illinois and we are at Ulysses S. Grant's home in Illinois. We're fixing to check it out. Alright guys, here we go. Alright, here it is. Home of Ulysses S. Grant. So, we're gonna check it out. No entry without mask. Are you kidding me?
Let nobody in anyway.
Well, yeah. That's a pretty home, guys. Alright, here's the door. Ulysses S. Grant. Yeah, they're giving tours. Yeah. But I'm not wearing a mask. You see where bullets hit it? Right up yonder. See on the wall? Yeah, they're giving tours, but I'm not wearing a mask. Unless you want to.
Yeah, I'd have to. I've got one mask in my pocket.
I ain't got none.
Another mask. In the pocket of the...
I've got a mask in the truck. Yeah, this is the town. Down below it. Look over yonder, look at that. It's a pretty little town.
Yep.
And there's the house. You want to walk around it? I might go get a mask so we can go inside, I don't know. That's some bullshit, having to wear a fucking mask. I guess because it's a government building, probably.
District.
Okay guys, I had to go get me a mask. Cause you gotta wear a mask in here, man. Alright. Yep.
Ring the doorbell.
Well, hey guys, we are
Welcome
in.
to the U.S. Grant home.
All right.
Have you been here before?
No, ma'am.
Start out with a little bit of history on the house. So the house was built in 1860, and it was built for a city clerk by the name of Alexander Jackson. Grant wasn't born here in Galena, he was born in southern Ohio. Parents were farmers, leather tanners, business people, but were able to secure an appointment for Ulysses, who was the eldest of 6 children, to West Point. He attended there, graduated 1843. In 1844, his first assignment took him to the St. Louis, Missouri area, a place called Jefferson Barracks. Now, while he was there, he looked up a former classmate and friend from West Point by the name of Frederick Dent. Frederick Dent had a sister named Julia. Within 3 months, they were engaged. The wedding was put on hold as he was sent off to fight in the Mexican-American War. He returned 4 years later. He and Julia were then finally married in St. Louis. Still in the military, he served at different posts throughout the upper Midwest, the Northeast. She was always with him. And then he was ordered to the Pacific Northwest, or the Oregon territories. It was a very rough and developed area. Julia did not go this time. She was expecting her second child. So a couple years passed away from his family. He resigned that commission and came back to St. Louis, where Julia and the children were. Her parents, Frederick and Ellen Dent, were quite wealthy and had given them about 40 acres of land for a wedding gift. So he cleared the land, he built a log house, and he tried to be a farmer. Unfortunately, he wasn't very good at it. tried some other professions and again, no success. He called his farm in St. Louis Hardscrabble. Today it's called Grant Farm and is part of the Anheuser-Busch, the Budweiser Bank. So here in Galena, it was a much larger city in those days. Population was well over 10,000. A real boom town, and that was the lead mining that was going on here. And since it was that boom town, Ulysses Grant's parents sent their other 2 younger sons here to open and operate a retail leather store downtown, thus giving them another outlet for selling leather products that they were making back in Ohio. And since things weren't going so well in St. Louis, Ulysses and Julia moved their family here in the spring of 1860. They rented a home on the other side of town. He clerked in that store for about a year until the Civil War broke out. And then because of his military experience, he went back into the Army, started here in Galena, training troops over the course of the next 4 years, rose to commander of the Northern Forces. Now, at the end of the Civil War, he was back here in town to visit family. He was hailed a war hero. 13 businessmen here from town pooled money, about $2,500. They purchased this home and the majority of the furnishings from that city clerk, and they gave it to the Grants as a thank you. They spent some time here, but he's still in the military. In fact, now he's head of the military, so it's back to Washington, D.C. He became involved in politics and was elected the 18th President of the United States, and he served 2 terms. End of the second term, he and Julia were back home here. They started planning for and eventually departed on what ended up being a world tour of over 30 countries. Again, back home. Their children are grown now. Their daughter's married, living in London, and their 3 sons are primarily on or near the East Coast. And because of business opportunities that arose for him in New York City, at that point they moved there. They still retained ownership of this house, but it was no longer their primary legal address. He died in the state of New York in 1885. He was 63, and he died of throat cancer. Mrs. Grant lived another 17 years, died in 1902. They are both entombed side by side in New York City, what is still the largest mausoleum in the U.S. 1904, their 4 children deeded this home and furnishings to the city, and in 1931, the city turned the house over to the state. First room we'll look at here is the library. Furniture in there is original. Center table, his writing table. Now on that is that great big thick book. That was a gift to Mrs. Grant along with the house. Inscribed in gold, Mrs. U.S. Grant, 1865. It's a Bible, weighs about 15 pounds. Left side of the room between those 2 windows is what's called a parlor sculpture, done by John Rogers. Grant is on the left, Lincoln seated in the center. And the man on the right is Edwin Stanford. Hello there. Are you folks going to be around tomorrow?
Yes.
You're probably going to be better off to come back tomorrow. We've only got about, 5-6 minutes here.
Okay.
All right, we open at 9.
Sure.
Or if you want to join us now, you're welcome to.
Is it like halfway through or?
Well, I started, it's going to be pretty well done.
Sure.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, good. We caught you at the right time then.
Yes, we were lucky. Thank you, Lord.
Now, next to that sculpture, there's kind of a skinny, round, tall metal table. That was the general cigar stand.
Cigar
And
stand,
it was
yeah.
a habit that he picked up during the war that ultimately killed him. He smoked over 10 cigars a day.
Yep, or more. Sometimes
more.
when he was stressed out, he would smoke more.
Sure, sure. Okay, when you're ready, go right on in the parlor.
Alrighty.
So the parlor was typically the largest, the fanciest, and the least used room.
Yep.
Furniture in here is all original, except for the piano. Furniture was reupholstered back in the late 1950s, but with the same type, style, and pattern that would have originally been on it. The black material is made of silken horsehair.
Yep.
They used horsehair from the manes and the tails.
Yep.
The green chair was his favorite chair. Loved that one so much. He took it to the White House, used it there for 8 years, and then returned home with it. Furniture is also a little low, and that's because people were generally just not quite as tall. Ulysses Grant was about 5'7", a bit above average for a gentleman in those days, and not a large man most of his life. 135, 40 pounds.
Pounds up, soaking wet.
Mrs. Grant was barely average height for a
Yeah.
woman 5 foot tall. The world tour that they were on, they were both very popular, gifted and greeted by heads of state and royalty. On the right side of the fireplace, that's called a tilt
table.
tea table.
Yep.
It's from England, inlaid with mother of pearl and paper mache. On either side of the fireplace are original oil paintings done by Jose
Yep.
Velasco, gifts from the Mexican government. And the original portrait of Grant over the fireplace was done just after that world tour. He was 57 and he sat for a Wisconsin-born artist by the name of Frank Peebles. And he'd also gained about 50 pounds. The piano, not original to the home or the Grants. They had a piano, it came with the house, both Mrs. Grant and their daughter Ellen, they both played. We just have no idea what happened to that original piano. Another family here in town gave us this one, same type, same style, same brand. This one would be at least 3 years newer.
Yeah.
The Grants got theirs in 1865. This piano is in 1868. Chickering Square Baby Grand, made in Boston. And whenever you're ready, go right behind you into the dining room.
All right. Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful home.
It is. I wouldn't mind having a house like this right now myself.
Oh, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah,
Awesome.
So
yeah.
the furniture here in the dining room again is original. The china that's on the table was designed by Mrs. Grant, ordered by Mrs. Grant from the Haviland China Company. And the occasion was their daughter's White House wedding.
Okay.
Nellie was married during the second term of the presidency in the White House, and this china was used on that occasion. The silver serving pieces on the table all around the room, purchased by the Grants during those White House years, used there, and then brought back home. The little dessert plate, now that piece is a replica of the official Grant White House china. And it's a replica simply because any administration's official china is always
Yeah, Smithsonian.
White House.
White House and Smithsonian, yeah. Yeah.
Center image, the Grant family. They had 4 children, 3 sons, 1 daughter. Here on the left are his parents,
Yep.
Jesse and Hannah Grant, Ohio farmers, leather tanners. On the opposite side are her parents, Frederick and Ellen Dent. They were very wealthy, lived in the St. Louis area, and they had a huge estate, over 1,000 acres, called Whitehaven.
Yep.
Above the fireplace is Julia, Mrs. Grant. She was from that wealthy family, but educated, and that was unusual for a woman from anywhere in those days.
Yeah.
Also unusual for her to have that much of a full face front image of herself. Typically, it was much more to the side or a
Yep.
profile. She had what they call a weak eye or a lazy eye. Technology was there during her life, but she never had it repaired. She was actually the first president's wife to have a title, and she was called First Lady of the Land by the Congressional Quarterly Journal, and then it was shortened to just First Lady. The carved teakwood table and bronze urn, that was a gift to Mrs. Grant on that world tour from the citizens of Yokohama, Japan. Next part is self-guided.
Okay.
You've got about, 5 minutes or so.
Okay.
Watch the stairs.
Okay.
There's 5 bedrooms and a dressing room. The rear stairs are steeper, so
Okay.
take your time.
So we can go up?
You can go up, yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Be careful. I'll take your time.
We're going up the stairs, guys. Beautiful house, guys. You wouldn't believe how beautiful this house is. All right, this is Frederick Grant's bedroom. It's beautiful. All right. Ellen and Ellie's room. Look, it's got one of those old brown barrel stoves in it. Wow. It's got an old round barrel stove, and then you got your coal bucket over there.
Yeah.
Oh man, this was their room. And again, old barrel stove, bucket, coal bucket. Wow. Beautiful house, guys. It's a beautiful, gorgeous house. It's a sewing room. All right. Sewing room. I have to piece this one together. Oh, that was my knee. Down the hall. All right. Jesse Root Grant's room. Little boy's room. That's neat.
Yes.
I like that chair. Probably uncomfortable as crap, but all right. This is Buck Jr. Buck's room. Wow. Ooh, the ceiling leaking right there. Ooh, these stairs are narrow. Boy. Ooh. Huh?
On the other way, what do you think?
Well, it's fine. I mean, just as long as you don't roll your foot off of it.
Just go sideways.
Ooh-wee. Alrighty. Library. Again. Alright. Here is the kitchen. Hello.
So stop right in here, lean over this way a little bit,
Okay.
way back through that door.
The tub.
That's the original built-in copper line bathtub.
Cool. Yeah, this is from my YouTube channel. So you don't mind being on YouTube? Okay.
Right here, ma'am. Lean over this way, look way back through there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, copper tub.
So there was no running water in this house. They collected rainwater in a cistern. It was brought in buckets. It was heated on the stove tub fill. Generally, that happened on Saturday night for church on Sunday.
Yeah.
Father got the first bath, then mother, eldest of the children, all the way down to the youngest going last, same water.
That was the way it was in my house.
That's the way it was.
I grew up that with that too.
Same thing from-
Everybody took a bath in the same amount of water.
The stove is called a step or a half stove. And it was about a step above cooking in a fireplace. This was a very early cook stove.
Yeah.
It was around for a few years, and then of course something bigger, better comes along. Not a lot of cooking surface, and the oven there on the top is pretty small. But the firebox down here on the bottom was extremely small, and it was hard to maintain temperature. in the
I
sink.
bet.
Simply because you had to keep opening the door to put another few small pieces of wood in, and then you lost your heat, you got more smoke back in the house.
Yep.
The pantry would be typical for a house this size. Fresh provisions were brought in as needed when the Grants were here. Now, there was no refrigeration. They would have had what you call a root cellar, and that would work fine for a lot of your garden vegetables, firmer fruits like apples and pears, your home preserved, home canned goods,
Yeah.
even smoked meat.
Yeah.
Fresh meat and dairy probably brought in pretty much as needed and then used quickly unless it was a cool day. Now, the top two shelves in there are called Galena Pottery, and that's a type of pottery that was made locally between about 1843 and 1893. The orange color comes from the amount of iron that was in the clay, and of course they used clay from the ground. But remember also that this was lead country,
Yep.
so the glazes will contain some lead.
Lead.
Not exactly what you want to store your food and drink in.
No.
No, not today. You wouldn't want to.
No.
Any questions?
Oh dear, you did an excellent job. I mean, it's like reading a history book, but you just was talking. It's
Awesome.
great.
Well, I thank you folks for coming today.